All right, welcome back. Today, we're diving into a huge challenge that pretty much every business faces. You've got this wild, creative spark, right? An amazing idea. But how do you actually turn that into a real, successful project? We're talking about the journey from that aha moment to an actual product on the shelf. And as you'll see, it takes two totally different ways of thinking.
Yeah, you can think of innovation as living in two completely different worlds. On one hand, you've got the world of creativity. This is where we go wide, explore everything, ask what ifs, and just generate tons of possibilities. But then, on the other hand, there's the world of management. This is all about discipline, focus, making decisions, and narrowing down to that one path that's actually going to work. So in this explainer, we're going to look at the key tools you need to master both sides of that coin. So here's how we're going to break it down today. First, we'll get clear on these two worlds. Then, we'll look at some models for sparking creativity. After that, we'll switch gears to the models that turn those ideas into actual projects. We'll put them head to head, and then wrap it all up by showing you how it all fits together. Okay, let's kick things off with these two worlds. It's this fundamental tension that you see in pretty much any business. It's about bridging that gap between the kind of creative thinking we talked about in Chapter 10 and the really structured project management from Chapter 12. It's a constant balancing act. You need that wild, anything-is-possible exploration, but you also need that focused, disciplined execution to actually get something done. All right, first up, let's dive headfirst into that world of creativity. Think of this as the fun part, pulling from all those idea generation principles you'd find in Chapter 10. We're going to unpack a couple of really powerful tools designed to help us generate brand new ideas and, maybe more importantly, to break free from our old, stuck ways of thinking. Okay, so the first model we've got is Ontwerpdenken, which you probably know better as design thinking. And the big idea here, the real game changer, is its focus on doing stuff, not just thinking about it. So instead of getting trapped in what they call analysis paralysis, design thinking is all about just quickly building something, testing it, learning from it, and trying again. It's super hands-on, and it's all about that cycle of improvement. And it all works through these 5 core steps. You start with empathy, really truly getting inside your user's head. From there, you define the actual problem you're trying to solve. Then comes the fun part, ideate, just brainstorm like crazy. Next, you build a quick and dirty prototype, doesn't have to be perfect, and finally, you test it with real users. But here's the kicker, it's not a straight line, it's a loop. What you learn from testing feeds right back into the beginning, making your next idea even better. But that raises a really important question, right? How do you actually come up with those new out-of-the-box ideas in that ideate step? Well, for that, we need to bring in our next big thinker, a guy named Edward de Bono. His whole thing was about how to deliberately, intentionally break our usual mental patterns. So, de Bono made this absolutely brilliant distinction between two ways we think. First, there's vertical thinking. This is your logical, analytical, step-by-step brain at work. He described it as digging a hole deeper and deeper. But then there's lateral thinking, and this is totally different. It's not about digging deeper, it's about jumping out of that hole completely and starting to dig somewhere else. It's all about challenging your assumptions and exploring completely unexpected paths. And his most famous tool for doing this is just fantastic, the 6 thinking hats. Basically, it's a method that forces a whole team to look at a problem from 6 different angles. But, and this is key, only one at a time. So when everyone puts on the white hat, you only talk about the facts, no opinions. Then you switch to the black hat, and everyone focuses only on the risks. What this does is it stops those messy debates where everyone is talking past each other. It gives every single perspective, from cold, hard data to wild, green hat creativity, its own time to shine without getting shot down. Okay, so now we've got this whirlwind of amazing, creative ideas. Fantastic. But now comes the hard part. How do we get from all this, this productive chaos to actual structured progress? How do we pick the winners? This is where we have to shift gears and enter the world of management, tapping into those principles we know from Chapter 12. And the innovation funnel is just the perfect way to picture this. Imagine a giant funnel. At the top, the opening is super wide. You pour in all your ideas, as many as you can possibly generate. But as they travel down, the funnel gets narrower. At each stage, the ideas are filtered out based on clear criteria. Does it fit our strategy? Is there a real market for it? Is it too risky? This way, you make sure that only the absolute best, most promising ideas make it all the way to the bottom to get time and money.
Now, the phase gate model adds even more structure to this whole process. It basically chops up a big, complex project into smaller, manageable stages or phases. Think of stages like scoping or development. But the really crucial part is what comes between each phase, a gate. And a gate is exactly what it sounds like. It's a hard stop, a formal checkpoint where a decision has to be made.
So at every single one of these gates, the project gets a serious look over. The key people get together and ask the tough questions. Is this thing even possible to build? Does the business case we made earlier still make sense? And based on the answers, they make a critical go or no-go decision. It's a really powerful way to control risk and honestly to stop you from throwing good money after a bad idea.
All right, so let's put these two worlds side by side. Creative exploration versus structured management. How do they really stack up against each other? And this table just lays it out perfectly. Look, your creative models, things like design thinking and the 6 hats, they live in what we call the fuzzy front end. That's the messy, chaotic, anything goes beginning of a project. The whole process is about going wide, exploring, and generating tons of ideas. On the flip side, you've got the management models, like the funnel and phase gate. These are built for the back-end execution. Their job is to bring order to the chaos, they're linear, they're focused on narrowing things down, and their goal is to pick the right project and get it done efficiently. It's really as simple as this. One side asks, what if, and the other asks, should we? So here's the most important takeaway of all. These are not competing ideas. It's not creativity versus management. They are two essential halves of the exact same process. You absolutely need both to have a successful innovation journey. And here's how it all fits together in one beautiful picture. You start with the creative tools, the stuff from Chapter 10. You use design thinking and lateral thinking to come up with all these amazing out-there ideas. And what do you do with them? You pour them into the top of the innovation funnel. Then the innovation management tools from Chapter 12 kick in. The funnel helps you filter and select the very best ideas. And then the phase gate model gives you that step-by-step, disciplined roadmap to take that one brilliant idea all the way to the finish line. Which really brings us to this powerful idea. Creativity without management is just a hobby. And management without creativity is just stagnation. You have to have both. You need that wild creative spark to even imagine what the future could be, but you absolutely need the disciplined management to make that future a reality. They don't just work together, they make each other stronger. So I'll leave you with this question. Think about your own work or projects. What creative process do you have that could really take off if it just had a little more structure to back it up?